And I did want to thank you so much for being part of this. And I know it's been uh, quite a few things on your plate, but I want to really, really thank you for being part of it. And I'll talk about it more. I wanted to be a little surprise that I share why I wanted you to be part of uh, the Buddhas and Amis series. So, a little bit of a surprise there for you.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yeah,
Looking forward to it.
thank you. Okay, I'm gonna share and let's see. Okay, I think we should be live any moment. I'm just checking here. Yes, I think we are live. Yay! Okay, just give me 1 second. Let me just make sure this is. So welcome, 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 amazing Renee.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, gorgeous.
It is such an honor to be with you always and to connect with you. And of course, I'm so grateful that you are part of Buddhas in Our Midst talk series. Thank you so much for sparing the time for that.
It's my pleasure. It's just an honor to be here with you and to be a part of this amazing series.
Thank you. And like I said, there is a bit of a insight and a bit of the reason why I wanted to be part of it, and we'll just get into that in just a moment. I do want everyone to know how excited I am and why I'm so excited to be with you, because of the amazing work that you do and the person that you are. And I know I have worked with you, or kind of worked with you, and it's been and yes, it's been so phenomenal ever since I've started following you and watching you. Just the pure love, and I think I've said this to you before, this is the pure love that I feel whenever I am, and the softness and caress and warmth that you give to all of us. So I and yeah, and so for those of you who do not know about Renee Mayne, I got to know her, I think, a couple of months back, or at least we connected a couple of months back. And before that, I had been following her work, and I just thought, this is such an incredible woman, and what she says and what she talks about. And I really felt that that work and your work and your voice has to really be brought to so many people, especially in I think places, countries, continents where we do not talk about a lot about women, or we do not talk about how it's not easy for us to talk about how we feel and what we need to be doing. And I really wanted to I was thinking of ways that how do I do that. And of course, things happened in terms of, there was of course no travel because I was to travel to Australia a few months back. So anyway, we did connect, and I was so grateful for that experience. And to let everybody know, so Renee is an unorthodox and freakishly, I so agree with this, freakishly gifted visionary and an intuitive guide who leads the hedonistic evolution for women who are called to disrupt the status quo and make sense of their existence, to be initiated to a new way of being and connect them to their divine self. A poetic and transformation speaker, teacher, guide, dominatrix, lover of lingerie and the spoken word, has been leading the areas of self, surface, spirit, and sex for over 2 decades. The ascension of this hedonistic revolution opens you up to a world of no separation. And for the first time in their life, it's the end of all pursuits because they are complete in every single way. And in her own words, I would like to add that Renee believes that a woman who has had this remembrance will inhabit heaven wherever she happens to be standing. How gorgeous is that? How gorgeous is that?
I think so. Thank you. Thank you. It is so important that we do this work.
Yeah, yeah. And, I had, like I mentioned, I'd been really wanting to be a part of the work that you do, have your voice travel and really spread to as many places and countries. And I remember, so this series was supposed to come into being. Buddhas in Our Midst is a series where I'm connecting with people who have extraordinary stories. There are stories of where they've really been leading their life purpose, and they have somehow combined spirituality into their normal day-to-day life. It's not something that you do once in a while. And so this story of yours that I had been seeing and I'd been watching over many months, and just short of stalking you on social media, I'm sure you get that a lot, but just short of stalking you, I had, I was really trying to see how do I bring this into being? How do I really make it happen in such a way? And honestly, I wanted you to be the first speaker. I wanted you to really kick it off. Anyhow, somehow the dates we could, were different. But the reason I wanted you to kick it off is I just felt that that's somehow the work that you do, and these stories, because these stories are going to get more and more real, and this is just the first wave of it. And I wanted to have this incredible, amazing, gorgeous woman who is so many different things, yet she's not left, or hasn't had to become someone else to bring that femininity out, to bring her divine feminine, as we say and talk about it now. And that's the reason why I wanted you to kind of kick off the series. But I am sure there are many different ways that we will continue to connect. I am not going to leave you alone. You should know that. I am publicly admitting it. Completely. So, any thoughts, any words you want to say about that? What I just mentioned.
What comes up for me? It's just, I think this movement is really important, and I think it's time And I think we're ready. We're ready like never before. And that's an exciting time. It's an exciting time to be alive, that's for sure.
Yeah. And that's so true. And now that we're talking about that, why don't we talk about, before we move into some of the other discussions that we have, the you know, you did you had the page and you ran your business, and different businesses actually, but the hedonistic queen and the hedonistic way is something that you also you had much before becoming an intuitive dominatrix, or actually bringing it out to the world. So how is the intuitive dominatrix, how is it different from some of the work that you've done before, or what is it the presentation is to the world now? If you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the intuitive dominatrix is really an extension of the hedonistic way. As you said earlier in the intro, the hedonistic way was really born out of my own deep dive, and and one might call it a dark night of the soul, or whatever, I don't, whatever the label is, it doesn't really matter. But it was something that was birthed really organically through me, and I lived it, and I didn't know what was happening at the time, but I followed the hum. And then so once that was birthed, and it was really based around the question of how we do one thing is how we do everything. And so often we hide different pockets of our lives, but really we're interconnected beings. So we are alive in all things, all at once, all the time. So we can't run away from parts of ourselves that we deem as wrong or bad, or we can't open ourselves up to other people. So really it was about, who am I when no one needs me and I don't need them? So that was the real basis of what the hedonistic way, how the hedonistic way was birthed. And that's why we go into the areas of self, spirit, service, and sex. And then so the intuitive dominatrix is really about honoring all parts of who we are. So the intuitive dominatrix is someone who doesn't hide from who she is. She's completely unapologetic, and she shows up as she is in that moment, just with the purest intention and aliveness as to what feels alive in her at that moment. So whether that's someone who's feeling, really, like a mother presence, or it might be a maiden presence, it might be a mystic, whatever that is in that moment, it's all welcome. But it's based on realness.
Yeah. And that's so powerful, when you say that who is this woman when nobody needs her? And because most of our lives, and I think it's true for women across different cultures, we are always, whether it's programmed or we are designed, or we are fed the story that somebody needs your life, or your sense of self or sense of purpose. And also, in fact, your sense of purpose, it is derived from the fact that how are you serving a need. And here's something which is so different. And so I want to go a little bit further, and also perhaps ask you that in the last many years that you've been talking about this in different ways, how has your experience been with women when they have come to awaken them. And like you said, of course, now is, I also feel that now has been a potent time. But how has that change been, or how have you, the women who have worked with you or who you've met, how has it been for them when you talk about the hedonistic way, when you bring that suggestion into the space?
Mm. I think for a lot of women, it can be a really foreign concept. Like, who are we if we're not a mother, a daughter, a wife, a partner, a sister, a friend? Like, who even is that person? And it's something that I don't think we've explored enough. And then what that leaves, in my experience, is this feeling of emptiness. And associated to that emptiness, you try and fill it with things, whether it's material things or whether you try and give more, do more, be more. But it doesn't, no matter what you gain on the outside, it cannot fill that void. It cannot fill that emptiness. It has to come from within. And it takes a courageous person to face themselves and to ask that question. For me, learning stillness was a learned behavior. It turns out I'm really, really bad at doing nothing. Like, I'm terrible at doing nothing. So for me to be able to just slow down a little bit and not do everything for everybody all at once and expect to be perfect at it, it was really, really difficult. But what happens in that time is you get to sit in the fire with what's alive in you, and you get to actually hear that little hum on the inside that's guiding us, and you get to slow down. And as soon as you slow down, you can taste the flavors, and everything becomes alive in you so much more. But it's in this world where we want everything and we want it yesterday. This is like a slow burn, and it's a slow unraveling, and that is a beautiful thing, because you actually get to taste it. You get to taste all the flavors along the journey, and that's exciting. So, and in regards to my clients, they all have their own journey, and and probably the biggest realization that I have to keep reminding myself of is it's their journey. And they, and I want to fix everything and I want to make it absolutely perfect for them. But that's my idea of what I think perfect is. So I need to just drop my expectations and let them entrust their journey and their unraveling, and it will be what it's meant to be. And that's actually a really exciting thing. But underneath all of that, what my clients really feel, and at the crux of the intuitive dominatrix, is an activation of voice and confidence, and to trust and take action on our intuition, which is really important, because a lot of people, we've been suppressed for so long that we forget. There's so much shame around, can I really say that? Like, oh my goodness, can I say that? Can a woman say that? Like, can a wife say that? Can a partner say that? So that's why it's a slow burn. You can't just regurgitate this stuff. It can't just come out of your mouth. You have to massage it gently. You have to caress it gently. So that's why it's it's an ignition of all the senses.
Wow, that's so beautifully put. And there's so much I want to talk about, and just from what you shared. And So I maybe, if you could also, like, one of the things that, and we spoke about this, we exchanged some notes about this, that how, like, women in India particularly, it's only in the recent past, and I think it's thanks to a lot of financial independence, I would say that people my age or even younger to me, I think because of a lot of financial independence and women really doing well in terms of what their demands are from a corporate standpoint, because most of them, we do have women entrepreneurs, but I would still say that the women entrepreneurs, many of them do have, they're coming from a entrepreneurial background, or they've seen that business, and so to speak. So most of the financial independence is still coming from women taking up corporate jobs,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
there is, of course, a certain uh, way that you need to be. So if you need to speak out, you have to speak out like a man, for example, and nobody talks about it. These are things that you would not say. I've been in human resources. I had 18 years of experience in the corporate world in human resources, and I have been watching it from the sidelines. There have been many moments that I myself wanted to intervene in different ways, but I knew my role as such was, I was restricted, and I had started feeling very restricted by that, and I really didn't want to. When I was seeing the change, I no longer wanted to have those restrictions, because I could see what was happening in the world. But that doesn't happen very often. Not very, a lot of women very often do that. So they are, they still are, the way that they voice out certain things are the way that they're used to, and most of the times that it's used to, it is not from a feminine self. And over the years, what starts happening is, we, without knowing, and I'm not going to say it's anybody to blame, but we start losing that softness or the feminineness or femininity really in us. And is, and I see the world is changing, but how is that, when you've observed that, I'm sure you've had some clients of that, is there something that you would like to share about, how, uh, one, we start by wanting financial independence, we get it, and then we want something more, but the way that we want it, there are set patterns, there's a box that you have to follow, and you follow the box, then you'll get what you get. And then you realize after a couple of years, mostly mid 40s or later, that where did the feminine in me go, or where did the feminine, my feminine aspects go. So how do we really, it's not an easy track, but how can we, I think, become more alive to that? And because, like you said, it is a revolution, and I so want this revolution to also be here in parts of Asia, where, and parts of our culture. Some cities are still very free, but there are a lot of countries in Asia that still do not, that's not acceptable, that's not okay. How can we work with that? How can we bring about that change?
It has to, for me, in my humble opinion, is, and you're right, like, it's this thing that just happens, and this conditioning, and this, to be heard, we have to, it's rife in corporate, especially in male dominant industries, where the women have to feel like they're very much in their masculine,
Yeah.
and they need to speak like a man to get their voice across, and it's something that, it breaks my heart a little bit, and it's something that, you've probably heard me say before, but you get to a point where you feel absolutely lost, like you've lost all sense of who you are, and you don't even know what that person looks like, feels like, who she is. And that can be really confronting, especially if you go, but hang on a minute, like, you know, I've got independence and I'm healthy. I've got all of these things. Why am I not happy? Why am I still not happy? And it's because we've let all the isms and all the labels and other people have like put identities on us. We've put identities on ourselves, and it's not who we are. It's not who we came here to do. So something that I'm really, really passionate about is women remembering who they are before they become a byproduct of their life experiences.
Yeah.
Who were you then? And when you have that remembrance, that is the standing point. That is the beginning of the new you. You know, that's the beginning of this beautiful exploration of self. And the only way that can happen is you flip the lens and to the internal gaze. That's the only way you can do it. And there's so many ways that we can do it. But for the women who are watching that are going, yes, I want to taste this, I want to taste the flavors, I would say slow down, feel your breath, connect in, and you can actually begin to feel what's alive in you. You get to feel, how does that feel in my body? You know, like, what does, you know, whatever sensation, what does that feel like? What does that feel like in my body? And you just, you know, you play with it. You know, it's like you're molding that, and you're just feeling how it feels in your body. No matter what emotion or feeling you want to explore, it's internal first. And then once you start that exploration of self, then you can begin to, you know, it's not begin, it's you know what, like you melt into who you are, and then automatically how you show up in the world is different. But it's as within, so without.
Absolutely. And and that's such a, you know, it's so powerful, yet it's so simple. And as I begin to study the three hermetic laws, it is so simple, but it is, you know, we don't really understand the power of it, you know, as without, so within. And and it's just really, really powerful. I also wanted to, you know, you spoke about one thing. Let me just remember, because that was so important. Okay, it's probably going to come to me. But and you know, so I also wanted to talk to you about, you know, one of the things that, especially in the last, I think, 2 or 3 years, and you know, you have interviewed a lot of different women, and in fact, even entrepreneurs, right? The so-called, if you were to talk in a different language, you know, the energies of the world that I have also been feeling, you know, those energies are changing. It's becoming more and more, there are more women, so to speak, awakening, right? And there is, whether it is like women attending courses or whatever. And of course, we usually would say that women are more spiritual, like for example in India or in Asia, we would say that women are more called for to do certain kind of course or whatever. But I think it's more than that now, at least in the last 2 3 years. It's definitely much more than just attending a course or attending a workshop or doing a program. What I've been noticing is there is this inert power that a lot of women have been wanting to really share with with the world. There are a lot more women who are making their voice heard, and it's not like I've been done wrong, so I want to make my voice heard. It's not that kind. It is, yes, my life was whatever it was,
Yeah.
but what is important for us to understand, there is something wrong. There is something terribly wrong in the world, the way that we treat people, the way that and we've been seeing it across, it has been erupting in different ways, whether it's the US or it's Europe or different other parts. It has been erupting in different ways, but that, um, if I can call it that, the women revolution is really coming, right?
Yeah.
And is that something that you have noticed as well? Is that something that, and I know that you have beautiful children, and so you also see it from a different perspective, right? So anything that you want to share about that, the women revolution that is coming up and that has been building or bubbling, to come out?
Yeah, we've seen a huge movement in the divine feminine, especially in spirituality. And we've seen that. And we almost, I think, we went to that complete extreme,
Yeah,
of what that is. And that's, and it was all very, it was love and light, and, it was all like the fluffy kind of side of spirituality and femininity, which served its purpose because, in the pendulum has to swing both ways. In the law of rhythm, it swings. So eventually we come into balance and it finds equilibrium. And that is a good thing. And that's where we're at the moment. And that's where I find really exciting, because now with, as women rise, there's a couple of things happening. Is men are beginning to feel the feminine within them,
yeah,
which is really important.
yeah,
And women are getting to feel the masculine in them.
yeah,
And the only beautiful things can happen when that happens, and that is sacred union. We can come back to union, because only then can we become whole. Because for so long, we've been rejecting a really important part of ourselves.
yeah, yeah,
So, yes, women are rising. We had to rise because something had to change. And, when women first come out, was it like in the 60s and 70s, when they were burning bras and all of these things, they were fierce and they were screaming from the rooftops. But
yeah,
now, where the world has been listening, and in so many ways they started to pave the way. So we don't have to yell so hard, we don't have to be so aggressive and go to this extreme. We can go, okay, I can be who I am, I can be centered, and I can be anchored, and I can still be of service in this world. Because if you're shouting from the rooftops so vigorously and ferociously, it's not sustainable.
yeah,
And that's what we've seen. We've seen men starting to burn out because that unhealthy masculine of having to hold everything and be the protector and be all of these things, it's starting to crumble because it's not sustainable. Women being in their homes and doing everything for everybody else all the time, it's not sustainable. So we had to find another way. And so now what we're seeing, in my opinion, is equilibrium.
yeah,
So women are getting a chance to explore all of who they are. And we can, We can go and build. We can be of service. We've got so much to give and so much to offer. And in many ways, you know, it's what we bring to the table is so different to what men bring to the table in corporate in particular, because we don't have to be like them because they're doing a good enough job. They're doing their thing. We don't need to add to that pile of masculinity. Like, it doesn't need to happen. We actually need to stand strong in who we are. And it's exciting, you know. And you spoke about my girls, you know, and that's a good thing, because, you know, I want to teach them that they can do anything that they want. Anything is possible if you put your mind to it and you trust and you follow the path of curiosity, you know, and you do what you love.
Yeah.
You know, it's not about, you know, doing, you know, doing what, you know, what pays well, or doing what this, or doing this because my parents did it, or, you know, whatever that is. It's, I cut the cord, you know, so to speak. I cut that cord with me so I can then change their karma and go, you can do anything. You can actually do anything, whatever you want. And teaching them to have humility, you know, and grace and gratitude and all of these things. And, you know, and of course they're human and they're growing up and they've got their own path, but it's their path and I can't control their path. All I have to do is be the best role model I can. And if I do that, then my job is done as a parent.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And so as much as I want to make the path clear for them and make it perfect, and they don't have to experience pain or trauma or hurt or whatever, it's going to happen. I can't control that. It's not my job to do that. I'm not doing them any favors by hiding them and not preparing them for life.
Yeah.
All I can do is show them how I show up to life. And I choose to be whole. And I choose to make time for myself. And I choose to continue to evolve and learn and grow. But most importantly, I love. I love.
Yeah. And it's such a beautiful narrative that you just shared. You know, that the only way that you can show up, you know, show how to be, is to show up in your own life, and that is all that we could do. And we do talk about, or we do hear a lot of people talking about awakened parenting, or conscious parenting, or enlightened parenting, right?
Yeah.
And of course, there are tools available to do that.
Yeah.
At the same time, the work has to be done by ourselves. It is about, like you mentioned, because children learn the best when they observe, and they're observing us all the time,
They're
right?
sponges. They absorb everything.
Exactly. You know, and I just want to, one thing just came to me. There were, you know, I'm part of some of the groups on Facebook, and ever since there's been a lockdown, you know, parents are also observing their children more closely, because earlier it was both the parents are working and the kids are in school, and then, you know, the kids are doing some other classes, and, you know, they're going to play, they're doing sports, they're doing piano lessons and all of that. And so there was, you know, there was that just about a couple of hours, or perhaps just an hour only, just before bedtime or over dinner, etc. But as parents have come so close, I think initially it took a while for the parents, both the mother and the father, to realize, where did that child of mine learn this from? Or, you know, I'm not like this. Where did this, you know, where did he or she learn this from? And then that process of relearning that the children observe, you know, there are psychological studies that have been done, that if the parents are in a different room away from the child, and the child is playing even in a room which is a couple of feet or a couple of meters away, And even if the parents' voices are not loud, if they're having an argument, the child can feel it. And so even more, if the child can see what is happening, the child can sense, and that's where I think the different clairs kind of get developed, right? And so that conscious parenting and awakened parenting, yes, there are tools available, but the most powerful tool is how we show up in our own lives. And uh, and I hear from, many times I hear from parents or other, and wives who are having trouble in them, not in their marriage, but in the family, right? Because we also have, for example, there are more people involved in a marriage. The families are very closely connected.
Yeah.
And so sometimes there's this overwhelming feeling that, I can't be responsible, or I can't be doing this. I can't be the one who's doing this all the time, or I'm not to be thinking about our children's, how the children are being raised and all of that. And what is incredible is that it somewhere becomes a burden, whereas showing up in your own life is not a burden. It is really not a burden. It is the most freeing experience that one can have, right? And I do want you to talk about that a little bit more as you. So one of the question that I wanted to talk about, and you touched upon it when you were speaking about your children, is, and you mentioned in the beginning that each person has their own journey, right? Each client that comes to you has their own journey, and it is not up to us, even though we would want them and we would want to hold them and say, this, you can do this, or this is what you need to do, or whatever, right? And in the most sincere, or even with the most utmost devotion, but every person still has their own journey. So my question to you is, somebody who is wanting to has started that journey a little bit, right? Has delved on, let's say, some of the things, and mostly they are band-aid, band-aid solutions. But at the same time, having said that, yes, it's sometimes help. I go for a 2-day retreat, or I go for a weekend of spa treatments, or whatever that might be. It might be I'm in a stress management program. I'm in a how do I empower myself program. So somebody who's delved in some of these things and aspects, or understands what needs to be done, how does it really strike them that it is my own journey? Whatever somebody else can do, they can help me, they can show me, but it is still my own journey. And maybe if you want to talk about intuition a little bit, perhaps that could be a segue. But what would you say to somebody who understands that they need to do something about it, but who also feels that it is easier because there are 100 things one needs to do in a day? So it's easy for me to call up Renee and say, Renee, can I do a method session with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I the first thing, when you were asking that question, the first thing that come to my mind is, I remember I used to be in an abusive relationship, and I remember I got a really bad beating one night, but I was due to. We had a staff party, like a dinner or whatever it was. So we were all, and I had all the money. So, but I couldn't go because I was, rattled in a mess and just being beaten to a pulp. And so I was like, oh, I have to go drop off this money. And so I went in to my workplace, and I walked in, and I was trying to hide my face and, but look up and not be too obvious type thing. And I spoke to one of my workmates, and I remember looking at him in the eye, and I remember thinking, please ask me. Please ask me, please like look into my eyes and see what's going on in my head. Like see it. I just remember feeling it so intensely, and I was just like, please, can you see me? But I can't speak the words, but I want you to penetrate in my mind and see me. And of course he didn't. And and I walked out, and that night when I was trying to go to sleep, I realized it has to be me. It has to be me. Like no one can change this life. Not as much as I want them to, like as much as people want, just tell me what to do. Tell me what I need to do so I can live this dream that's inside my head. No one can tell you, but you have to just a voice. Like you have to go, okay, you have to decide what you want. You get to decide. And yes, life happens and you can't control everything that happens, but you get to decide how you respond to life and how you show up to life and what you call in. And that is something that is accessible to all of us, and that is why I always say is a woman who's had this remembrance will inhabit heaven wherever she's standing, because it doesn't matter what's happening around you, because you can hold your own soul and love and respect, and it doesn't matter what's happening around you. So you absolutely get to choose, and you don't have to see the whole picture. You don't have to see the whole staircase. You just have to take a step. Know what life looked like, after the abuse. I couldn't see how I was going to get through this, but I took a step. And then I took another one, and that led to another one. So often we wait before we take action. We feel like, I'll wait till this happens, and I'll wait till this happens, and I'll just get this and get this and get this, and then I'll do something, and then I'll be happy. But it doesn't work like that. Yeah. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you for sharing that story. I didn't know that story. Such a powerful one. And yeah. So before we come to the close of it, what came to me was, we've talked about women of different age groups, women who have experienced different kinds of independence, and the people that you work and and being a mother. There is also there is this amazing clarity that girls between the age of, let's say, 60 or even more, but just to say 14 to about 18, 19, they do have this amazing sense of clarity. At the same time, there is the not knowing, and it's not the confusion of being in the teenage years, but I think it's beyond that. It is beyond being, what do I do with my life, but really, how do I really create the kind of life that I know I was born to? I think that question, comes to them. So is there something that you want to leave with any girls who might be watching this now or later?
So they're 16, 17, and what, they're trying to figure out what they want to do?
Yeah, so they are just, so there is still patriarchy that exists,
Yep.
right? There is,
Yep.
they have seen the independence or so-called financial independence. They know that they are capable of a lot of things.
Yeah.
So those who are on the brink of really moving towards, and they would be studying in uni or just getting into uni. So those who are in the brink of just taking that leap forward, if you were to, I don't want to call it life advice, but if you were to tell them that as you step into the life of experiences, right, you leave uni and you set into the life of experiences,
Yeah.
what, what is it that you might want to leave them with?
Hmm. The first thing that came to mind was it's okay to say no. If it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no. And there's certainty
Yeah.
in that. And I think back to the biggest thing that you think is your weakness, that thing that you hate about yourself, that you think is wrong or bad or stupid, or you see as a weakness, whatever it is, I guarantee you it is your biggest strength. I guarantee you. And often any pain or resistance or fear that we feel, that anxiety when we feel frozen and we aren't able to make a decision, there's that. It's the biggest pain, the biggest suffering in that is the self-judgment. So sit in the fire with it. Don't be afraid to go, hello, you old friend, and go, wow, and, instead of trying to change your state into, into something, if you're feeling whatever, like, angry or resentment, whatever it is, you can't go to love or joy in one sweep. But what you can do is go, I wish I felt calmer right now. Because your body knows when you're not genuine. Your body knows. So
Yeah.
if you're honest with where you're at and how you're feeling, you can just go, you can soften into it and you can melt into it a little bit more. And yeah. Because self-love is not the end point. Self-love is not the starting point, it's the end point.
Wow. That's so incredible, and I wish that I could tell that to my 18-year-old or 17-year-old, right? And I bet you I needed to hear that I can say no, and I needed to know and hear that, sit with, don't, the self judgment, just look at it and, sit in the fire. And if it's, if it is, and, what you said, that if it is not a hell yes, then it is a hell no. And
Yeah.
so weird that we don't do that often enough. It is so
Yeah.
weird, right?
Yeah.
And
That's a potent one.
yeah, and uh, I I would never want to leave a conversation that. But I do want, if you want us to get into a practice where we just come to that, but I do want the audience to know that uh, I think it was about a week or so that uh, you had started a new course, and there's the temple that you had opened up as a
Yeah.
course. Do you want to just talk about if there is something that might be coming up, or even if you want to talk about the temple that is currently going on?
Yeah, we've just finished our third temple, and it's 10 temples in the internship, and they are absolutely extraordinary. And each week is the most decadent unfolding around that, that voice and that self-expression, and in many ways finding yourself for the first time. And it's about having confidence in who you are, not who you think you should be, and trust. You know, anyone can have intuition. Anyone can, you know, have these things, but to trust it and take action on it is completely different. So we talk about those things, and we dance with the archetypes, and it's extraordinary. It really is. But I haven't launched it yet. So, but if they hang around, I've got a couple of my can I even if they're mine, can I call them amazing? They're epic. The
Yes.
meditations.
Of course. I listen to your meditations every single day. Please do talk about it.
I'm doing a couple of the live ones like I did,
Wow.
like I have done again. So I've got a couple of those coming up. I've just launched some private sessions, one-on-one sessions as well. So I'm around, so they can absolutely check me out. And if they've got any questions, they can absolutely ask me. But yeah, I'd love to just like spend a couple of minutes and go through a little process, if that's cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to invite everyone to do is just close your eyes and bring a soft smile to your lips, a cheeky smile that you don't often let out. And just breathe in. And imagine you're breathing in and you're tasting that thing that you love the most. Is it a cup of tea at the end of the day? Is it a piece of chocolate, ice cream, smoothie, whatever it is? Just breathe it in like you're tasting it, and just feel that joy float through your body. And feel the stillness of your body and your heart. And see yourself on the center of a dark stage. It's pitch black. You know the audience is there, but they can't see, you can't see them, they can see you. And you look down and you see a spotlight penetrating off your chest and into the audience. And you feel how they are hanging on to every movement, every breath. And you feel that light alive in you. And you know that you do not have to please them. You just have to feel that light within. And that light automatically penetrates out. As that light penetrates out, you feel your feet on the stage. You feel the audience give you a standing ovation. You feel your heart. You feel connected. You feel like you have no body. And you feel absolutely supported in everything that you do. And you know that Every move you make, it just has to feel right in your heart. And it's you first and the audience second. And that is when you become magnetic. There is no performance required. And you feel a golden orb at the top of your head, and it cracks open and it spills the liquid gold over your body, through your body, bringing you back to this moment right now, feeling decadent and alive and ready. When you're ready, feeling your breath and blinking open your eyes. Mm. Mm.
That was just divine. Just divine. You always make me teary-eyed. In an awesome, awesome way. So I do want to share with, I don't think there were any questions, but I like sometimes they don't come up in my feed. So I will check them later on. I did want to tell the audience that I have tagged Renee in this post, but I will also tag her page and her groups, and you can definitely reach out to her. Though you are in Melbourne, but of course we are in the virtual world right now.
Absolutely.
Right. And thank you so much once again. Thank you so, so much. And so much love and so much power that I would really love to see your light shine on so many people, because it's required and it's time. It is.
Yeah. And today we rise. Thank you, sister. Thank you. And thank you for everything that you do, and you showing up, and you creating this space to give these conversations airtime, which is such a beautiful thing. So thank you for your big, glorious, amazing heart and your courage to create this revolution. You are an absolutely epic, amazing, beautiful person. So we are just as blessed to have you, sister.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So I will see you all again. Thank you for watching. And yeah, so I'm just going to